Far More Than We Think, Making Sense of Spirituality by Angelo. Chapter 9, No Such Thing as Normal. If you're anything like me, you may still have some hesitation about embracing spirituality, notwithstanding the summary that you've just heard. Spirituality either meant religion, which had caused no ends of problem and conflict, or the hippie culture from the 60s that seemed rather hedonistic, irresponsible and largely drug-fueled. Despite the mounting evidence to the contrary, my ego would still not easily allow me to reject the mainstream view of normality and pursue an entirely new way of experiencing life. Fortunately for me, I persisted because I was still suffering and, frankly, I'd run out of other avenues to explore. Spirituality seemed to be my only hope. Well, necessity is the mother of invention, and in my case, misery was the mother of recovery. I set off on a new path of living, one step at a time, and gradually it all became beautifully and wonderfully clear. My life went from being a struggle rooted in fear to a joyous existence full of friendship, love, peace, and contentment. This new feeling of serenity generally stays with me, whatever the external circumstances of my life may be at any given time. This may sound too good to be true, but it does happen. It happened to me, and it has happened to many other people whom I now have the privilege to know. As I look back, I try to understand how I managed to resist the wisdom that now seems so obvious and ubiquitous to me. My ego was broken, and spiritual principles were being clearly highlighted to me, yet I still hesitated. I think this was partly because I was so used to being responsible for myself and for solving my own problems. And this, of course, all leads back to ego. The other thing was that I'd spent my whole life wanting and trying to be normal, with normal meaning whatever I considered it to be. I seemed to have an underlying urge to fit in and not stand out from the crowd. Spirituality was not really that popular or generally accepted, so I resisted it. I've since realized that this urge to conform was the result of an underlying lack of self-confidence and self-worth, and a fear of being judged as inadequate. I used to think I was the only one who felt like this, whereas I now know that many other people have these very same feelings. I felt odd and saw everyone else as normal. I felt different and didn't like it. I wanted to be normal like everyone else. I modelled myself on other people and tried to adapt my behaviour to fit in with society as I understood it. I tried hard to be part of the in crowd. This rather childish approach continued through all my adult life, and I would probably still be doing it now if I'd not experienced the mental breakdown that subsequently transpired. The breakdown, by the way, was probably inevitable, now that I see what was happening to me. Living a life full of constant pretense is exhausting, and I eventually ran out of steam. This is all a bit of a confessional, but the point here is that I was striving to be normal rather than accepting myself as a unique individual. I'm not special, but I am different. Our genealogy and our personal life experiences mean there is no way we can be anything other than different from each other. There's no such thing as normal, because we are all unique. Society, however, seems to have a different view. The momentum in modern culture seems to be towards more normality rather than less. The biggest driver is the notion of fashion, which covers everything from clothing and hairstyles to all forms of possessions. The latest must-have gadget becomes a necessity so we can keep up with everyone else. We live in standard houses, drive standard cars, do standard jobs and shop in standard stores. Everything is a commodity and conforms to a standard. Individuality struggles for breath in a world that seems to covet normality. A lot of this fashion culture is driven by our collective fascination with celebrity, which in turn is driven by the media. We seem to think a celebrity is somehow superior and should therefore be idolized and mimicked. We know in truth that celebrities are just human beings who have a particular talent, but somehow we see them as a race apart. We envy celebrities because they seem to have the sort of lives we aspire to. Ironically, many celebrities achieve fame by being themselves and allowing their talents to shine. The rest of us live our normal lives and privately dream about being in the limelight ourselves one day. When I go to the airport to collect a friend or family member, I love waiting in the arrivals section and watching the stream of humanity go by. The basic components of our faces and bodies are the same, yet every single human being looks different. It's remarkable how many different faces can be made out of 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth, let alone all the different body shapes that exist. Most people I know are unhappy with some aspect of their face or body because they would prefer to be more like someone else or more normal. Fashions change, celebrities grow old, and what used to be normal and coveted is now old hat. The old normal is replaced by the new normal, and so it goes on. We continually strive to be normal, but for what purpose? I think the main reason is that normality helps us to feel safe and secure. We fear being different, and yet each of us is unique. Life got a lot easier for me once I let go of the fear of being judged as different. Another area of questionable normality is in our thinking. I used to believe my incessant thinking was normal. Going over things again and again in my head was standard procedure, as if somehow I could get a new angle on a problem and make it all better. I've always had an inner voice chatting away morning, noon and night. Often I have 2 voices with opposing points of view on a whole range of issues and choices. I now realize that these 2 voices are my ego and my spirit, also known as conscience. Some people talk out loud to themselves, which is deemed to be the first sign of madness, yet we all have these debates going on inside our heads. It becomes difficult to know what is normal and what is not, because each of our minds is unique. My views on normality have changed completely. In many cases, I now consider that what used to be normal is now really abnormal, and vice versa. Normality has lost its meaning, and my own conclusion is that there's no such thing as normal. One of the great benefits of spirituality is a newfound acceptance of myself. My body and mind may have done some foolish and shameful things in the past, but my spirit has remained pure throughout. I now consider myself normally abnormal in body and mind, but completely ubiquitous in spirit. In fact, I believe my spirit wants my body and mind to be unique so that it can experience itself as something new. This is because our spirits are all from the same source, yet each one wants to express itself uniquely. This uniqueness of experience is what I now understand to be the whole purpose of life. We exist as individuations of the universal whole in order to create a unique experience of life. If this is the case, then there is no such thing as normal. If we persist in trying to be normal, then we are missing the whole point of our existence.